Hello guys, my name is Alyssa Nava and I am doing a presentation on speech and communication disorders. So I made a PowerPoint, so let's get right into the presentation. So speech and communication disorders. So what exactly is a speech and communication disorder? Speech disorder is obviously a way that you cannot communicate with others. You cannot articulate different variations of forms of ways to speak. For example, some of those are going to be fluency, voice disorder, language disorder, hearing and auditory process. It can really affect the way a person forms their words. And speech and communication go hand in hand with each other. So communication disorders almost not the same, but they do play a big part hand in hand with each other. It is an impairment in order to receive, send, process, or comprehend any verbal or nonverbal graphic symbol systems. For example, speech disorder, articulation, language disorder, and hearing disorders. So as you see, they are both very similar. They're both very similar because speech and communicate, you both have to communicate. So they go hand in hand with each other. Different kinds of speech disorders, they include, according to an internet source, healthline.com, different types are asphyxia, stuttering, dysarthria, dysarthria, lisping, spasmodic, dysphonia, cluttering, muteness, speech delay, autism, and aphasia. This is just only a small portion of speech disorders. So what is a speech disorder, or what causes the speech disorder? We're going to go into some of that. So if you are deaf, obviously your speech is going to be impaired. Any kind of sickness, as in brain damage, muscle weakness, strokes, polyps in your nodules in your vocal area, vocal cord paralysis also. These are just some ways that can affect your speech. So just some different abnormalities that will cause this. So these are just going to be more causes of speech disorder. So many people suffer from a medical and a development condition that causes speech disorders. So some examples are, so basically, so it's a sickness or a developmental condition that is causing them to have speech problems. Autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, also known as ADHD, having strokes, having certain cancers in your mouth, such as oral cancers, Huntington's disease, and dementia. So these are some of the things that will cause speech disorders. Okay. So symptoms. If you know any kind of symptoms of any speech, they don't articulate things correctly. So some of the symptoms are, according to the American Speech and Language Hearing Association, some of the symptoms will include repeating sounds, adding extra sounds or words, or for example, like moving your head a lot when you're speaking, moving your head like in a constant way, blinking several times when you're speaking, taking a lot of pauses, very raspy voice or a gravelly voice, and just visibly frustration to communicate. So these are just some of the signs and symptoms. So treatment. So according to Healthline.com, some treatments include various types. It just depends on the disorder. So whatever disorder it is, it's just different kind of treatment. So one of them would be speech therapy, which that is a way to guide someone to help exercise and strengthen muscles in their mouth. Early treatment, the more treatment and the more practice, the more fluent the speech will be. So the more practice, the better. So practice makes better, makes perfect, and the more that they practice, the more their the muscles will begin to strengthen. Unfortunately, the outlook for those with permanent speech disabilities are long-lasting. So in some cases, no matter how much treatment, it'll still won't improve. So it just depends on the severity of the speech disability and the whole process of treatment. But some of the disability is going to be long-lasting. So different kinds of, since we talked about speech disorders already, let's go ahead and talk about communication disorders. So as you see here, there is speech disorder on here. Speech disorder is on here, like I said before, that they do go hand in hand. So speech disorder is on here. So according to the Speech and Language Hearing Association, it can be related to articulation and fluency and voice. Language disorder, that's phonology. I'm sorry, I'm stammering over my words. Phonology, morphology, semantics, semantics, and pragmatics. So these are just some things in the language disorder that they would have trouble with as well. And other forms for communication wise, they will have hearing, like very, very bad hearing. So they're either deaf, or as you age, you would get hard of hearing. So that's why when older people will have hearing aids, or just maybe from having loud music on all the time. As you get older, your hearing will start to decline. Central auditory process disorder. This processing is signals not attributed to impaired of hearing. Intellectual impairment. It's the central process includes communication, difference dialect, and augmentative alternative communication. So I believe this is something where they have to write it out in this way. All right. Signs of communication disorders. So problems understanding others if you cannot follow directions properly, if they can't get along with anyone, maybe problems taking tests, not being able to communicate effectively, understanding the perspectives of what someone has to say, and if they can't respond to verbal and nonverbal cues. As an example, as if you don't have that language where you and your friend have that language where you can just look at them and you guys are thinking the same thing, so they will not be able to do that with you. They won't be able to get that communication. So these are just some of the signs. And treatments. So according to another internet source, greatspeech.com, treatment includes behavioral intervention, peer mediation, online speech therapy, being socially active with others, some social skills activities, and social communication intervention. So, having communication disorders, and if you're not being able to communicate, you don't know how to communicate even socially and being around a group of people, So this is some of the things that would help them as well. So this is going to wrap up our session of the speech and communication disorder. In conclusion, if you know anybody or if you see signs on this slideshow that you may think you have, or you have a friend that you know somebody, your children, I would seek immediate professional help. As a future educator, I believe I would like to encourage everyone to be proactive and advocate for those who are unable to communicate, and just be that voice for them. That way we can all come together and understand these disorders and just helping each other figure out things. So this is a wrap from our speech and communications disorder. Some of the work cited, internet source. I use internet sources from Speech Disorders Medically Reviewed by Sarah Menes. That is healthline.com. Another internet source, it was accessed on September 29th. It was greatspeech.com. It was for treatments of social communication and disorders. Article on American Speech and Language Hearing Association, and that was definitions and communications and speech disorders on November of 1982, pages 949 through 950. Thank you.